Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, Megan and I are going to be recapping our 3-day weekend in New York.
So I feel like, that was my weekly spotlight, so I don't really have much to elaborate on that. That'll just be like the whole episode. But we always like to do our book catch up and just what we've read recently, what our thoughts were on it, what we are planning on reading next, and then we'll get into the episode.
So, when was the last time we recorded? What was I reading? Okay. I believe I may have still been reading Heartless Hunter, otherwise I had just finished it. I read that on my Kindle, gave it 4 stars, very much enjoyed. It was a good little romantic-y read, so if you're into romantic-y, check that one out. And then I read Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner, I think is how you pronounce her name, or something similar to that. It's been on my TBR for a very long time, and I wanted to get one last book read before the end of May, and I was able to finish it May 31st, and it also counted for my second nonfiction book. I have a goal of reading 3 nonfiction books this year. The first 2 books that I've read have been memoirs, and I'm trying to expand my horizons to read other nonfiction books that are not memoirs. I like to TikTok to give me some recommendations, but it's just kind of like, I don't really know like what that means. Reading a nonfiction book. I'm not reading a self-help book, I can tell you that. But like, I know there are a lot of interesting books that are nonfiction, but I'm like, what are they? You know what I mean? Like, can you even say there's plot? Like, how does it go from one idea to the next if it's not a memoir? So if you guys have any nonfiction recommendations aside from memoirs, I'll still take recs that are memoirs, but let me know. And I just finished another book that Megan's reading right now, and we can discuss.
So I just finished reading, like, my most recent book that I finished was All Systems Red by Martha Wells. It's a very short novella, less than 200 pages. It's a sci-fi book. There's not a lot that happens. It's a very short book, but my intent with reading it was I'd seen it before. It has pretty good reviews on Goodreads, and it's like the first in a series of books that, like, I think all the books are pretty short. It was good enough for what I needed. Like, I didn't have any trouble finishing reading it, but like, there wasn't a lot to it. And the character, I don't want to say it reminded me of Project Hail Mary because like I only gave it 3.5 stars, but like the main character is kind of like this AI, not really human, so it's kind of like the way they talk and like the way they like don't really feel human emotions and stuff. It's like kind of funny. I wouldn't not recommend it, but I also am not like running to finish the rest of this series. But I am kind of like, if I were to need another short novella, maybe that's to like reach your Naturals goal, for me. Maybe, well, Naturals is not. Naturals is like 300 pages.
I still read the books pretty quickly. I read the first one in a day.
Yeah. Like I could see it being like a placeholder for like, okay, I want to finish another book. I want a quick read. Then maybe I'll continue on to the next series or the next book in the series. And now I am rereading Project Hail Mary.
And I just finished rereading it today.
I have only just recently kind of allowed myself to reread some of my favorite books. Like, I think this is only the 3rd book that I've reread. I've reread Beach Read and Book Lovers and now Project Hail Mary. And I'm really enjoying it.
Honestly, I recommend rereading your favorite books.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing as like you rewatch your favorite shows. Even though you know what happens. Arguably, I remember what happens in shows way more.
Why am I feeling like I'm reading Project Hail Mary and like some of the science almost seems more confusing the
second
time?
I was like, I thought so too.
I was like, whoa,
I was like, I wonder.
And you don't fully need to. I feel like even though when Andy Weir's writing, he like says a bunch of complicated stuff, but then he'll kind of like say like, so at the end of the day, like this is kind of what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But dang, this time around, I have kind of been like,
no.
What?
I thought that too. And I wonder if it's because I went in being like, oh, I understood all the science. And I'm kind of like skimming over it. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But I'm like, whatever.
I know
what happens in the book. So it's like, I don't know if that's having an effect on me understanding or paying attention to the science. Because the first time you don't know anything. So you're really like digging in. And I feel like maybe I'm just like skimming over because I'm like, I know how we get from point A to point B. So it doesn't matter if I like pick up exactly what the science is that they're doing. but I had that same thought.
So I'll probably finish reading it like tomorrow or something is kind of my guess. And then I had a couple new books I've added to my TBR that
I'm curious,
I kind of
before we get into
jumping
like
to like
TBR
the top
stuff,
of the list.
Are there any other books that you can think of that you read that you like have on like a want to reread list or would add?
A Court of Mist and Fury eventually, just because I feel like that book in the series is like the one I'd most want to go back and reread because I kind of
It's
feel like
because
I would
after
maybe
you
rate
finish
higher.
it, then like
I think I would maybe go back and rate it higher.
like a 4.5 or 5.
Yeah.
I feel like after you read it, because like you read it and you have like this like aha realization moment, and then like if
Like,
you
I just
read it a
think I'd really
second
be able to
time, you pick up
appreciate
on
it
more
now.
stuff.
Mm-hmm. And Haley and Maggie are both reading it too, so it's just like top of the mind, and I'm just like so excited for them to read it. So I'm like, I want to read it. And then let's see. There's none besides that are like really itching my brain for me to like want to reread.
I could see myself.
I mean, Happy Place eventually, I'm kind of like, I could see myself rereading that, but like I haven't been like, oh, I need to reread that.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any like set in time like when I would do this reread, but I think at some point I would like to reread 11/22/63.
Oh gosh.
Because it is like one of my favorite books, and it is like it's so long, which is what makes the reread daunting, but like it's also so long that like how much of it have I forgotten, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of like the nice thing about longer books that you reread. How much of it do you actually remember besides like the big plot points?
Right. So some of these, one for sure was actually recommended by either one of the people that watches our videos or listens to our podcast or both. But I, for some reason, just kind of like this has become like top of my list for like next book I want to read. And that's The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. Mostly because like their personal recommendation put it high on my list, but it's also rated really highly on Goodreads. And I had previously recommended, or someone in our book club had recommended, a Rebecca Yarros book as like an option for what to read. And so kind of like I am interested in delving into like her non-fantasy romance novels. And so I had originally had a different one in mind, but then since someone recommended this one, I was like, okay, sure, I'll do this one. So I'm planning on reading it next.
My next read, I think, is going to be Funny Story by Emily Henry. And then I don't know.
And then I have
added
of things
from our New York trip.
Although I keep pushing back, like I keep feeling like I'm just not ready to do Assassin's Blade, but it's getting back to the point where it's like I just kind of need to do it, but I don't know.
You can do it whenever you want. I will say there's a book that I added to my TBR that I saw when we were on vacation in New York. I'm going to forget the name, so I'm going to pull it up. It is called, I think it's called You Should Be So Lucky.
You Should Be So Lucky, yeah, that's right.
Is that right? I'm going to double check because I never trust Megan with titles. It is You Should Be So Lucky. Okay. It's basically just like I think it takes place in like 1950s New York. There's a baseball player who just joined this major league team, and then there's a sports reporter who has to cover him. And supposedly romance ensues, is what I'm told. And it sounded good.
Otherwise, I mean, I don't really have anything else. Oh, Ciera found out Project Hail Mary, the movie. That's right, if you don't know, they're making it a movie featuring main star Ryan Gosling. So if that
you gotta be ready, you guys.
Ears,
you have 2 years. This is assigned reading.
You get to read the book. You have to read the book before the movie comes out. It has at least on Google, there's a release date that shows now. So it's like March 2026. So we have at least a date to look forward to.
Potentially.
If it remains true.
Ryan Gosling is like the hot actor right now.
Yeah.
Like I know he's been famous.
But like he's in his prime.
But I just feel like he's really, in everything. And Project Hail Mary, like he's going to just peak right at that moment. He didn't win an Oscar, right?
No.
So he hasn't won.
It'll be his magnum opus.
Yeah, it could be. He could be best actor if it's as good as we think.
I wonder what did The Martian did The Martian win any big awards at the Oscars?
I bet it definitely could have won something like related to CGI or like something like that. We're turning into Brittany Broski, where she just like has a computer ready?
It was a nominee for many things, but it did not win anything. It was a nominee
waiting
for Best
for Elvis.
Picture, Best Actor. Yeah.
Us watching Elvis just bomb at the Oscars.
Yeah. It's okay. It matters only in my heart. All right. Why don't we jump into our, speaking of Elvis, we'll piggyback off that as we head into what we did the first night in New York. And I promise this will relate and make sense in a second.
Okay.
So,
so our plane departed Des Moines Airport around 11:30 a.m. So it was actually kind of nice because like we got to just like get up and do our normal morning routine. We weren't super rushed. And we had direct flights.
we were well rested.
Both to and from, which was nice. Very easy flight. It was like a quick 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. No issues with travel or anything. So.
I will say, I mean, on the way back, which doesn't really matter, but like the LaGuardia security line took forever. Which then, side tangent, this brings me to my, topic of
like
conversation.
An etiquette point.
What time do you guys show up to the airport to catch your flight? Because I have been born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. Not a very populated airport. Like, we are, if the security line lasts, like, longer than 30 minutes, like, that is a crazy day. And I've always been told, you need to get to the airport, like, 2-3 hours early before your boarding time. Because our boarding time, what time did we board? 11:30, left at 11:30. Boarded at 11 or something?
I don't know. Yeah.
And then, like, we didn't follow this rule for, like, this, but it was, like, 9:30 when we left our dad's house to go to the airport. But, like, we knew it wouldn't be that busy.
But, like, the Des Moines Airport, okay?
I'm saying that we allotted, like, time. And then to get coming back, obviously, we knew LaGuardia was going to be busier. I mean, we were at the airport. Granted, we had to check out of our hotel. We were there at, like, 1:30 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And our flight left at 5. All that to say, we're in line. It is taking forever, but there are many people who are like, guys, my plane is boarding, like, it's gonna leave.
And they're, like, literally, like, cutting through. My favorite thing, and by favorite thing, I mean, like, this is my least favorite thing. I love when people are in a line, and they ask people, like, 10 people in front of you.
Can I cut you?
Can I cut you? Can I cut you?
Oh, you're actually cutting 10 people.
But as long as they say it's okay.
You see that one guy who, like, moved the barrier? He's like, you over there, can I cut you? And then, like, 2 other people are falling behind him.
There's a lot of people that were cutting in line. There was a guy that was climbing over a barrier in line, and then someone else was yelling to, like, the TSA people, being like, hello, he's not allowed to do that. And then, like, he just did it anyways. There was one person working all of the general boarding line. One TSA agent. They have better ratio than that at the Des Moines Airport. Okay?
Yeah, we had 2 people.
So it was insane. It was ridiculous how long it was taking. And I know that you pay the money to do TSA pre-check or clear or whatever else, Sky Priority for Delta. But it's like they all had their own individual lines with, like, at least one TSA person. And then,
like, they could have easily been, like, shuttling other people over,
make
like,
it a
as
little
those lines
more-
were empty, you know?
Yeah.
Or, like, make the Sky person wait, like, for 2 people. You know what I mean? Like, you're still getting the benefit of Sky Priority or whatever it is.
While we're talking about the leaving, I have to share just, like, a funny quick thing that, like, at the time, this was making me die laughing. It probably was not that funny in hindsight. But when so our dad brought a checked bag. Like, he brought a big enough suitcase where he's like, I'm going to check it. So on the way back.
And our dad is so not technologically savvy. Like, if there's someone that works there that can do it for him, he's going up to them.
Like, so obviously a lot of airports now have those self-serve kiosks where you can check your bag, get the bag tag, put it on your thing, and then when you go up, you just, like, hand it off to him, basically. And so he was going to do that, and I was like, it asks for a couple different ways to, like, get into the system. You can scan your ticket, you could put in your confirmation number, and this time around, because the first time around we did the confirmation number, this time around I knew he had his ticket, so I was like, let me see your phone and, like, we can scan the ticket. And so he was like, okay, Ciera just sent it to me. And so I'm watching him, like, handle his phone and do this thing. And he goes to the phone app, and then he's, like, on, like, his recent calls. Then he's, like, heading towards Ciera and hits it. I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are we calling Ciera? We need to go to your airport pass. And he's like, I'm on the text messages. As he's literally, like, the call is calling her.
Like, my phone, I have a missed call from him because Megan hung up.
So then I hang up, and I'm like, and he's, like, convinced. He's like, I was on the text messages. And then obviously, like, he kind of, like, is like, okay, I was wrong.
Obviously,
I was
wasn't
wrong, obviously, because Ciera's saying she's a missed call. But I was just like,
you should have just, like, let him, like, just process. Like, okay, now what?
Okay. End your pass.
Hello? I pick up.
So then we were, like, just, that in itself just was, like, so funny. And then, like, me and Ciera, like, making a joke of it, just, like, because he did that. And we're like, what are you going to do? Say, like, hey, Ciera, what's the confirmation number for my pass? Anyways, it was hilarious. You had to be there.
You had to be there moment.
Anyways, back to the beginning of the trip.
Hold on. But anyways, comment how much time you get to the airport before. And do you feel bad for people who almost miss their flight or do miss their flight because they're late? Because I'm just saying, your boarding time or departure time
and I understand
does not change.
People can say, like, it's never taken me this long to get through security. It's a risky
Okay, but the guy said, he's like, I've been in line for 40 minutes. That's not that long. Like, for LaGuardia, I'm guessing. I've only flown out of, like, one other New York airport. But, like, that doesn't seem that crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, now to the start of the trip.
So, we get to New York. We land around 3 o'clock. We get off the plane. The whole weekend was lovely weather. Like, really couldn't have been much better. I think if we were, like, going later in the summer, like, we really could have had some heat to deal with. But, like, our days were actually pretty nice. And so our big plan for Saturday night was to go to a Broadway show. That was our main thing. And then, dinner before, that was kind of all we really had in mind. We didn't have, like, super thought out extensive plans. But we had already bought tickets to MJ the Musical. So we knew which theater we needed to go to, and we knew where our hotel was. And we were just kind of like, we're going to try and eat dinner somewhere close enough to the theater so that it's not like we're hurrying and rushing to get places. And our game plan for, like, traveling around New York was obviously we wanted to walk and, like, see the city. So we knew we were going to be doing a fair bit of walking. And then we were open to taking the subway as well, just to, like, save some money, because it's pretty cheap to take the subway, and you can get places, It's better than walking everywhere.
Or Uber.
Or Uber, because we didn't want to do that. So from our hotel, we get to our hotel and kind of, like, get ready to go out and about by, like, 4:30 probably.
You know what my least favorite thing about traveling with Dad is? Are you gonna guess?
And, like,
it's probably, like, really, it's not niche because you will, like, probably relate once I say it, but I'll be surprised if you
I kind of was like, I think
you're
just gonna have to say.
He is always just like, well, do you need a shower? And I'm like, do I smell bad? Do I look like I need to shower? Because I feel like men just, like, shower
like,
more
showering
frequently
for women is kind of like a deal.
It's like a task if I'm washing my hair,
Yeah.
And so we, like, get to New York. He's like, well, do you guys need to shower anything? And I was like, no. And then I'm also just like, if I need to shower, I will tell you I need to shower.
And I will say that it needs to be part of my agenda.
And today. So I was just like,
he kind of micromanages, like,
he does micromanage
things he doesn't need to. Because it's like,
we'll get
I'll
into
take
that
care of myself.
There were a few moments, and Dad, if you're listening, love you, but I told you this also. I was like, you're kind of micromanaging a little bit.
So when I had looked at where the theater was, it was more uptown from our hotel. And so we ended up being able to, basically what I'm saying is, like, on our walk before the show, we really saw a lot more of the sites that I kind of was thinking we would wait to do, like, the next day. We kind of already got them checked off. So, like, where was the first place we went? I think, okay, we left our hotel. We actually did go a couple blocks downtown because we wanted to try and see the Portal / the Flatiron Building.
Closed.
And it was closed both times we walked by it because I think it has certain hours now.
And also the Flatiron Building is completely, like, covered with construction scaffolding if you are interested in visiting New York City anytime soon.
But we walked by a lovely park. It was Madison Square Park. And it was just, like, I really loved the park. It was very green. There were fountains. Lots of people were enjoying the shade. There was a Shake Shack right in the park. And so we sat there briefly just to kind of like take in the sights. Like that was our first thing when we left the hotel. We came across the park on our way to the portal. And on the way kind of back uptown, we were like, let's just sit and like hang out for a second. Like enjoy being in a New York City park.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. And then from there, we walked
to
Times
Broadway
Square.
and, like, Times Square?
Like you kind of, we frequently walked on Broadway during this trip. That's where a lot of things are at. And like just shopping wise or just directions often had us walking on Broadway. So we did as the maps said.
We were heading towards Times Square. We ate at Shake Shack at some point, which I know is probably a cardinal sin if you're visiting New York City. Honestly, I was expecting, like,
You
for
know what
just
I am
restaurants
not?
in general.
I am not a culinary snob, okay? I didn't have any sights set for, like, I'm going to New York, I need to eat at XYZ places. That's just not really who I am. So, like I'm, like, convenience over anything else, honestly.
So we ate at Shake Shack. It was good. I've had Shake Shack before. It's like a step above like a typical fast food burger, I feel like. I have no reason for saying that. It just feels like it.
The prices seem more.
Yeah. Honestly, that was like the busiest place that we ate at.
It really was.
Whatever that says. And granted, it was like right by Times Square. Like it was the busiest place just in general that we were at. We walked to Times Square, and it's funny because like as you approach Times Square, you're like, is this Times Square? Like, are we in Times Square?
Especially the first time we went there, like 5 years ago.
It felt more Times
Square-y. This time around,
Yeah.
yes. When we visited last time, I still was kind of like, I am not convinced we're in Times Square, even though I was like, no, we are. But I was just like,
and it was late when we were there last time, so I feel like it probably just like wasn't as busy.
Yeah.
But I was like, is this right? I was looking at my phone. I was like, it says Times Square. But this felt more like it was busy. It felt like Times Square. We celebrated. They have a beer garden there, and so our dad got what I'm guessing was an expensive beer, and he got us 2 Cokes. We cheersed. We sat for a little bit, and we just kind of watched.
We also were all weirdly, like, it was surprisingly quiet as we were sitting in Times Square, where, like, there are so many people there, and it should be, like, hustle and bustle. It's, like, I'm not saying it was quiet. It was not silent by any means, but it's just, like, it should be louder here than it is. Like, I could close my eyes, and I'm not sure I'd be convinced I'm in New York City, except for the occasional siren.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a weird thing. I honestly noticed that, like, a couple times during the trip. Brooklyn, we'll get to this the second day. Brooklyn, it was, like, crazy quiet. It was like, is anyone here? Hello?
After Times Square, we then were like, okay, let's get ready to go to the Broadway show. So we, like Megan said, saw MJ. It was at Neil Simon Theater. And it was so flipping
You guys, I could not
good.
say enough good things about the show. I must admit, because this was the first Broadway show I've been to, and even, like, my experience in any theater or musical or play of any kind, like, very limited.
Or I also, like, tried watching Hamilton on Disney Plus because I've heard nothing but rave reviews about it, and I didn't finish it because I was kind of like, like, I don't see it.
So they had, before the show started, and Ciera kind of saw this coming, so props to you for that. There were people, the curtain they had down was, like,
sheer.
Kind of a curtain, but it was sheer enough you could see through it. So you could see kind of the set that they had, which admittedly at first I was kind of like not very impressed. I was kind of like, hopefully they change this up a little bit because, like, what is this? And it's like a small stage, so you're kind of like, I'm not really
what are they
sure
going to do with this?
And so there were people coming out, the dancers. They're, like, stretching a little bit. They look like they're in warm-up outfits and stuff. But it's, like, getting really close to showtime. And so then, like, someone starts coming on, like, the loudspeaker, like, the mic. And they're like, Michael in 2 minutes or whatever. And Ciera's like, I think this is, like, part of the show.
Production.
And it did end up, like, being part of the production and, like, the lead into the show. The reason it was set up like that was because one of the scenes, I guess, for the musical was, like, he's preparing.
Well, like, the backdrop, I guess, to the musical is him preparing for his concert.
Yeah.
And so it's, like, them at rehearsals.
So, like, it's very on the nose with, like, the dancers are at rehearsals.
It's like they're on a set because they're rehearsing.
However, obviously that was not the only set for the musical. They had a lot of different things. And, like, the lighting that for this show was like insane because that's really what brought things to life.
Or just like they had, I think, like 3 or 4 panels that they would like switch out that like would be like, oh, it's a room, it's a recording studio, and I'm just like, how are they doing this?
And obviously, a lot of the songs, like, they're Michael Jackson songs, so if you like his music, like, you're gonna enjoy and like
I will say,
musical numbers.
MJ the Musical, like, this soundtrack is on Spotify, if you guys, like, wanted to
The singers
listen.
and dancers were so extremely talented. The people especially who were, like, because there was a couple of different actors for Michael, depending on different phases of his life, and there was kind of, like, flashbacks throughout the musical that were done really well, and, like, all of them were just, like, so talented, incredible dancers. They really gave the aura of Michael Jackson,
because like it opens up initially like this big, was it Billie Jean was the first, or was it Beat It?
I think it might have been Beat It.
Okay, it's one of those for like the opening number, and it's like this, the Michael actor has like the black hat and like the white top and the black pants.
It's just like, you know, all these like iconic Michael Jackson outfits, and then like during some of like the dress rehearsals or on stage like changing stuff, you're just like, I know what's coming next. Really good.
But like the dancers just like gave Michael Jackson.
I honestly
like,
wish
that
there was
is
like
Michael
a
Jackson.
video version of that musical.
I know,
But there's
I would
not.
watch it. No recording, no
So,
phones, no videos. Did
I
you
guess
see
I'll
like
just
the
have
people that work
to-
there would like flash their flashlight at someone if they saw them on their phone?
Yeah.
Then my dad, I have to call you out again. He wasn't taking a picture or anything, but like it was like after the intermission, he was like his phone like full brightness. He was like doing something on his phone. I was like, Dad, just put that away. And he's like, oh right. I'm like, hello, where do you think we are right now? Anyway, the show was amazing, incredible. It was very long.
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
Like,
That's
we
including
left
the
at like
intermission.
10:30, I think, is when the show was over.
But it was
It was
amazing.
so good.
Highly recommend. We had a couple options we were considering, including Back to the Future, The Outsiders.
I think those were
That was
probably the main ones.
Mostly it. I was like, what would Dad be interested in?
Anyways,
I'm pleased.
Circling back to my Elvis comment earlier, I'm just reiterating that like there is a biopic plan for Michael Jackson, and going to this musical kind of like further emphasized to me that like I might probably be obsessed with
This might be my new
the
personality.
biopic when it comes out, and Michael Jackson. So
After the musical, the last stop we made for the night was because I mean, I've known about this shop, restaurant, bar, whatever for years because they've been like pretty viral just online. Black Tap is like known for their crazy milkshakes. There's probably a couple other places in New
and
York
it
where you
worked
can
out
get
well
a
enough
crazy
where it
shake.
was like on the way back to the hotel.
Yeah, and so I was like, midnight treat. We stop and get a milkshake, and we just shared it with the 3 of us because none of us were that hungry, but like I still wanted it. So we got, I think it's called like the Brooklyn Blackout. If you end up going to Black Tap on your own, it's a chocolate shake. The glass is covered in like chocolate frosting and chocolate chips. There's like a ton of whipped cream and chocolate syrup and some brownies stuffed in it. It was very good. It's expensive, so like we split it between the 3 of us and it was fine. And again, none of us were that hungry. You probably like, could you finish it on your own? Maybe, if you were hungry enough. But I would say like you could definitely split it with 2 and be comfy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
and
toppings
also,
are where it'll get you.
just like in general, I feel like I was expecting, and this definitely depends on like the restaurant that you're going to, but I was like, we're not going to be able to walk into any restaurant in New York City and get a spot. Like, who are we?
Surely not.
You can, for sure.
In fact,
obviously
we
it
didn't
depends
do-
on where you go.
Obviously, like, I would have made a reservation if I knew somewhere was, like, extremely busy or, like, I saw reservations were recommended. But, like, overall, in life, in general, I am not someone who operates under reservations. I prefer to just go in and put my name in. And we did that for this trip, and we had no issues. I don't think we had any waits at all.
No.
Just with the restaurants we happened to choose. So,
Anyway, that was the end of night 1. We got home at, like, the hotel. At, like, 12:30, we, like, rinsed off, and it was a long day.
yes.
And then we went to bed. We woke up around 8:30 the next day, which, to be fair, is 7:30 our time.
So Sunday was our full day in New York. That was our only full day because then Monday was still like a part travel day. So big plans for Sunday was I knew we wanted to start by walking across the Brooklyn Bridge because I just felt like it seemed appropriate to kind of like start the morning with like, granted we walked all day. So I can't say like, it was best to start the morning with like walking because we walked
But, like,
all day.
the rest of the day was, like, we could stop if we wanted to.
Yeah.
That was, like, if we're going to Brooklyn and going across the bridge, you got to cross the whole thing. Then we got to come all the way back.
we decided to try out the subway in order to just like get us downtown to the Brooklyn Bridge. And I gotta say, the New York subway system, like, it works pretty slick.
That's the other thing. I thought the subway was gonna be so much busier.
Yeah,
it was not that busy.
I watched one video just like to get my bearings on how the subway system would work prior to going, and the guy on the video basically suggested like use Google Maps instead of Apple Maps, and like it'll tell you all the lines and stuff you need to get on. And using Google Maps, we had like no difficulty at all with figuring out the subways. And then all or almost all of the stations have what's like called OmniPay, so you can just like use your Apple Pay on your phone or like any card that has like tap to pay, and you just like scan it and it lets you in. So it was like $2.90 per trip, and it was extremely easy, and I don't have any complaints. Felt very, honestly, like I really didn't get the impression, at least like the short time we were there. A lot of people I know can say like New York is like a very dirty place, or like you don't feel safe. I really thought like I felt safe the entire time, no matter what area we were in, just because like honestly, there's enough people around.
Right?
Like
you're surrounded by enough people. Granted, people are gonna say you can get mugged in broad daylight amongst like 20 people. Okay, sure.
But like us and our dad, we all made a comment of like we felt plenty safe, and even riding the subway felt plenty safe, and yeah. So if that's ever been an issue or something you've been like concerned about, if you've thought about traveling to New York, I would say you probably don't have to worry about that. Didn't see any rats either.
No, we didn't.
No, not a single rat. From there, the exit we took brought us right to the Brooklyn Bridge, so off we went. I gotta admit, the first part of getting like
getting from the street to like when you're like, oh, now we're on the bridge. I was like, that was long already.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, what are we in for? Like, this is gonna take a while. And then the rest of it kind of went pretty fast. So you're walking across the East River. You can see some views of the Statue of Liberty, which was cool. Plenty busy. I mean, we started walking across by like 9 or 10, probably 10. And I mean, it's busy. It's full of people. They're all wanting to cross the Brooklyn Bridge too.
Getting their photo op.
But it was good and not too hot. We walked all the way across the bridge, ended up in Brooklyn.
Which brings Megan to her point of Brooklyn being very quiet.
It seemed very
just like
quiet.
a little, it's not little, it's a big neighborhood.
It's just like, it's not like there's a million people walking around the sidewalks. We did come across, because I set like a Google Maps on my phone to like find a bookstore. So we went to Books Are Magic,
which I've heard of,
and cute little indie bookstore. And there ended up being like a little kind of block party going on that same block. I think it was related to Pride, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was a Pride
and so
festival thing.
We walked around that shop a little bit. We also got Starbucks while we were there, just to kind of prep ourselves for the walk back across. Because at that point, I mean, I was doing fine, but I was just kind of like, I knew we had a lot of walking in us. And so I posed the question of like, do we want to walk back across, or do we want to try doing a subway to get across? Our plan from there was to go to the 9/11 memorial, and we all decided that we might as well walk back across. So that's what we did. And
you know what's interesting? Because there were like at least 2 different times that we saw like outdoor workouts, or like honestly 3. And like I just feel like that was just funny to see, like as someone who that never really happens in Des Moines. Like there are outdoor workouts, but it was just like on the street in Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
like they're doing a Barry's like boot camp type of thing. It was a closed off street, obviously. And like in the one park that we were at, there were like 3 guys doing Tai Chi that were like, there was a sign, so I'm guessing
I
it's
think
some
they were like
sort of
advertising Tai Chi
class or something. I don't know. And then in Central Park on our last day there
was like a yoga class
going on one of the lawns. I was like, interesting. You guys love your little outdoor classes.
And then, so we went to the 9/11 memorial first. At this point, I was starting to get, not hangry, but I was definitely like, we need to find food, like, immediately. So, I mean, memorial was great, nice. It lived up to the pictures that I've seen of it.
One of the towers right now is being, like, maintained or something, so it didn't have the water on.
But like the other one did.
Yeah.
The North Tower, maybe. And so from there, there's a Westfield Mall that has
shout out to
Italy
Westfield
in it.
Mall.
Yes, because we used the public bathroom like at least twice. That's probably it. I was like, I don't remember a third time. And I was just like, we'd be walking around, and like some places don't want you to come in to use like the bathroom if you're not a paying customer. I was just kind of getting stressed about like where to find a bathroom. So shout out to the Westfield Mall, because we used it before we ate, and then we were walking back. I was like, I have to find a bathroom again, and we ended up walking past the Westfield Mall again. So I was like, we're going in there. We ate at Italy, which
was really good.
I have heard of Italy before, so I was kind of like, okay, this seems like a good, safe bet. And we got some pizza there. It was good. We tried some Italian-style Coke because they did not have regular Coke.
It was, I'm going to butcher how this is pronounced, but like mole cola, or
is
like
how it's spelled.
Mole cola is MOLE cola. And it was a glass bottle that looked, it was like Coke inspired almost, because it was a red label. And then the glass bottle itself was like a brown tint.
It was good, but not as good as Coke.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I was kind of like, okay, how can we try and like see the most with like our final loop kind of down towards the downtown part of downtown.
Like, our dad was like, I must see the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. And we had all agreed preemptively, like none of us cared enough to go on a ferry. We had all decided like we're not going to do that. Just like we didn't want to pay for it. We didn't want to like devote that much time to going to see the Statue of Liberty.
In my head, I was like, we've already seen it twice. I saw it on the plane, and we saw it crossing the Brooklyn Bridge. What more do you need?
But our dad, like, he kept asking multiple times. He's like, is this the closest we're going to get to it? And I kept saying, like, no.
Technically,
we can go to, like, the southernmost part. We ended up trying to go to Battery Park is where we were going to, like, see it. And that's where a lot of the ferries take off to go to the island. And granted, from there, still honestly not, like, the best view. Like, it's not huge or anything there. Like, it's still kind of, like,
and, like, especially taking a photo of it, like, I don't know what you call it.
You could see it, but it's not good.
The distance is all off.
And so, on our way there, we passed two main things. First, we crossed the intersection of Broadway and Wall Street. If you're a fan of National Treasure, you know that that's, like, the final clue. So, it's like when they say here at the wall, and you've got the Trinity Church, we crossed that. And so, that was a memorable thing. And then also what's that statue called?
Charging Bull.
The Charging Bull on Wall Street. We crossed that we passed that because our dad was like, that'd be so cool to see in person. So we did. And then we went to the Battery.
No, and then this is like another side note for like dad. He's like, well, did you guys want to get a picture? And I'm like, no, did you? Like, if I wanted a picture, I would have gotten a picture. So I'm just like, if you want a picture, get in line. There's like a huge line of people waiting.
Then we went to the Battery, or Battery Park. I found out when I was looking this up that they changed Battery Park to be called the Battery. So,
why is it called Battery?
I don't know. Didn't look that up. We got as close as we could. Our dad took a picture the best he could.
He was on all, like, his tiptoes.
Yeah.
There's like a fence up, phone over the fence.
And then from there, we were kind of like, okay, let's maybe start walking back. I don't think we had any, like, specific plan, but I was kind of like, if we're heading back and we maybe want to try and do some shopping or stop into some stores, let me figure out, like, the best street.
This moment, shopping, that was when I hit my wall. Yeah. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. So Broadway, once again, seems to be, like, the street to walk up in order to, like, hit kind of some different shops that we'd be interested in. We only went into a few. We went into Levi's. We went into Aritzia.
Which, if I may, for Aritzia, like, you were doing your shopping. I was, like, trying to find a place to sit down. I have a little story to share that I don't know if you know the story. It's not that interesting, but interesting enough.
Go ahead.
One of the displays was, like, clothing, like, on a dining table. You know, like, just how clothes are on tables. But this one had, like, a bench that I think also had stuff. But then it had 3 chairs behind the table. The chairs did not have any clothing on it. And I was like, it's a chair. I'm going to sit down, you know? So me and Dad both sit down. We're sitting there for at least 5 minutes. And then, like, an employee comes by and he's like, hey, guys, like, this is actually part of the display. Like, it's not for seating. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, this is, I can guarantee, a legit chair. Like, I'm sure, like, I could understand if it was, like, structurally, like, it's made for, like, you know, it's not supposed to be sat on. Like, it's not structurally sound. This was a legit, like, table and chairs. And so in my head, I'm like, what do you mean it's part of the display? Like, it doesn't have any clothing on it. It's not, like, giving dining table, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the clothing is on the table. These chairs are behind the table. I'm not blocking anyone. But, you know, I'm not confrontational. I'm not going to argue with someone who's just trying to do their job. So I was like, okay. But then
I
he,
was
like,
kind of
points
wondering
us,
why you had moved to a different spot.
then he points us over to this, like, the A-OK Cafe or whatever it was, like, the Aritzia Cafe. And he's like, you guys can sit over here. And then I think he felt bad because he's like, the barista or whatever, like, can give you guys, like, something for free. What? Which, like, technically, when I was, like, reading the signs, it is, like, for Aritzia customers, but you have to have, like, some sort of, like, bronze coin or something. I don't know how you get that. Or, like, a coin. I don't know if, like, you get something at checkout. I have no idea how it works. So I don't know if I could have legit just got something for free no matter what, or if he just, like, felt bad and was like, he'll hook you up with whatever you want to drink for free. I didn't take him up on it, but then we were sitting down in that. And then Dad's like, do you think we're supposed to sit on this? And it's, like, a legit, like, table and 2 chairs in the cafe. And I was like, yeah, I think so.
Was he joking?
No. He was like, this doesn't feel very sturdy. And I was like, it's in the cafe. There's nothing on it.
I was trying stuff on, and as soon as I walked in the dressing room, I was like, I've heard of this before. There are no mirrors in the Aritzia dressing rooms. I understand that their theory in terms of, like, marketing and sales is probably, like, they come out in the dressing room, the salespeople can hype you up, they can provide other, like, additional things for you to try on.
It looks so good with that skirt.
I feel like overall, though, even if that's your tactic, like, there is no way that works better than just mirrors in the dressing room would work. Because the mirrors in the dressing room the no mirrors in the dressing room was such a turn off.
It's like the lighting outside, like, really good lighting. Because, you know, like, sometimes dressing room lighting is not good.
Make it better then. Anyways, I personally was like, I'm not walking. First of all, I'm sure there were mirrors out there, but, like, I didn't recall where any mirrors were. I honestly was, like, trying to think. I was like, I don't remember seeing any mirrors. There was a bench on, like, one whole corner there and dressing rooms on the other side. So I didn't want to walk out and look like a lost sheep. So I was, like, trying to set my phone up and take some videos if possible. But I was also just kind of like, I think they're just losing a customer in me today is what I think. Because I was trying on, like, a pair of sweatshorts, a basic t-shirt. I tried on, like, some overalls and then, like, a romper, like an active romper, which I could tell compared to the active rompers I've tried, that definitely felt like the best one I've ever put on. It's probably the most expensive one I've tried on, but I couldn't really see what it looked like, so I was like, I'm not buying this. So I didn't get anything there. And then we also went into Zara briefly, and I don't know what else. None of us were really in the shopping mood.
Yeah, I tried a couple things at Levi's, but one didn't fit, and then one I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. I've already gotten some jeans recently that I don't know if I need anymore.
From there, I think the other main thing that I wanted us to stop at least, like, prior to going back to our hotel, my phone was on the verge at this point too. Like, it was dead, and I don't have portable chargers. So I wanted us to make our way through Washington Square Park so we could see that little arch thing, and that's really close to NYU, so, like, that park was packed. It was busy.
We were like, this is the Pentacrest of NYU.
Yeah.
And if you're unfamiliar with the Pentacrest, look it up. It's like the giant yard space in Iowa City for the University of Iowa.
And then
arguably
we got
better than Washington Square Park.
Yeah, I would say so, honestly. Then we got there was an ice cream truck right there, and all of us were kind of wanting another sweet treat. So I got a chocolate shake, Ciera got a cone, our dad got a chocolate shake, and we sat on one of the benches there to enjoy our treats, give our feet a break.
We vlogged this whole trip, by the way, and so, like, one of the clips, because I just did the rough cut the other day, one of the clips is, like, Megan talking to the camera as I'm, like, trying to scarf down this ice cream cone. It's, like, melting all over me. So you guys can see that this weekend if you would like.
From there, I think all of us at this point, we were feeling like, oof, we need reprieve. We need a little bit of a rest. And I think it was, like, 4 o'clock or so at this point. So I was kind of like, my body wanted us to take the subway back. But when I looked at the time differences between, like, the subway and walking, the subway was going to take, like, 22 minutes maybe, and then, like, walking was going to take, like, 33 or something.
And you do have to, like, walk with that as well.
Yeah,
like, it's not like the subway is 22 minutes.
Yeah, so it was like you had to walk still to get to the subway. So all of us decided we might as well
walked
just keep
this
walking.
far.
And at that point, too, I was kind of like, I almost kind of was like, no matter how bad my feet hurt, like, I kind of want to see how many steps I can get in today.
See, my feet, like, if anything, my back hurt. My feet never hurt.
My feet, like, the soles of my feet were hurting. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was getting blisters or uncomfortable.
Like a pressure kind of.
It was just like the pressure of walking was really getting to my feet. My back hurt, like, in different bouts, but, like, it ended up being my feet that was bothering me more. Anyways, we make it back to our hotel. We walk by the portal once again, and it's closed again because we didn't get there during the hours it was open. And then we took a much-needed little...
Charge our phones, get refreshed a little bit. We did a little outfit change. Which I was very pleased with because I didn't think that I was going to get the chance to do an outfit change. I'd also, like, didn't really technically plan, like, another outfit. I don't know if you had planned another outfit, but, like, they came together quite nicely.
I just brought kind of some basic pieces and was like, use as needed.
It's I posted on Instagram, Megan and I,
our subway
thing.
Yeah.
That's the second outfit that we came up with.
So at that point,
very basic.
I was kind of like, okay, obviously I know we're doing dinner, but then I was like, what else, if anything? Like, this is our last full day here. I knew that the next day we were going to do Central Park and breakfast, but, like, if there was anything else we were wanting to do, tonight's the night to figure it out. And to be honest, you guys, like, we really felt like we hit the spots.
Grand Central Station.
The one thing we didn't do was the High Line. Like, we didn't end up getting over that direction.
But, like, we were going to do that, like, to walk on it, and I think we walked out.
Yeah. Where I was like, well, we were going to do that to walk, and, like, we've walked a lot. So, we decided, okay, Grand Central Station is, like, the one thing that's, like, close enough walking distance that we feel like we can kind of muster up the energy to get over there and kind of check that off of our list. And, I mean, it was neat. It was cool. I don't really, honestly
go back.
I'm kind of curious, like, it'd be more interesting to know, like, how is it used today? Like, it seemed like there was subway stops and, like, it's got connections there, but I'm like, isn't it, like, a train station? So I was trying to figure out if there's, like, trains that go there. I think there are, but, like, I don't really know. It wasn't super busy or anything when we were there. Like, there was mostly people there just, like, sightseeing it.
Pictures, yeah.
But I did see some people with suitcases, so allegedly I'd assume they were traveling out of there.
Allegedly. And then we got dinner. We ended up at Park Avenue Tavern. Great service.
This was a highlight. Like
we were going through, like, a list of our favorite parts of the trip. This was second favorite thing, was this dinner.
Just, like, good conversation. And, like, our waiter, shout out to, I think his name was, like, Emmett or something. Or, like, it started with an E.
Wow, that's impressive that you remember.
And we were sitting, like, on the little, like, street part of, like, the outdoor dining section. Because I was kind of like, I kind of wanted to be able to do that when we were there, too. Just to, like, enjoy some outdoor dining. So we finally did that. And
weather was great. Conversation was great. Food was good.
Talked us into getting some desserts. We got a cookie skillet. That was also good. What more can you ask for?
Mm-hmm. And then we went back to the hotel. We were on our terrace.
I was asking, hold on. And you could see the hat I was wearing in Ciera's Instagram post.
Oh.
But I was wearing a Coke hat, which, like, I don't think I've ever worn that hat before. Ciera has it from somewhere. But I was wearing an all-black outfit, and so I felt like the pop of color was, like, necessary. So I was like, okay, I'm going to wear this hat. And as I typically do when I'm at a restaurant, I've kind of gotten in this habit of, like, asking if someone has Coke or Pepsi just to go with whatever they have. And I was asking, I was like, do you have Coke or Pepsi? And he's like, we have Coke. And, like, he
points
like,
to the hat.
To my hat. And I was like, at first I was like,
you're like, this
what?
is embarrassing.
And then I was like, oh. And I was like, well, then I guess you know what I want. So that's because he was kind of, like, smirking because he was like, he must have been like, oh, good. Like, we have Coke and
he's
you
like,
want
awesome.
Coke. So,
could you
like,
imagine if you were like, we have Pepsi?
Yeah. And I probably wouldn't have, like, I don't know if I would have, like, thought anything. And he probably would have been like, oh, God. Like,
oh, God, we're going to lose a customer.
So.
That's so funny.
That was that.
And that finished out Sunday night. And then our final day, Monday, wake up around 7:30 or something. Take the subway to, what's the area by Central Park called? Do you have any idea? I don't know. It was just by Central Park. We had breakfast at Carnegie Diner.
We also saw Carnegie Hall.
Also completely covered with construction stuff.
At least
you couldn't see the building.
You couldn't see the building, but they had, the construction was like a replica drawing, artist rendition of like what the building looks like.
So yeah, food was delicious. Not just this diner, but every restaurant ever that serves breakfast serves too much. I got the classic French toast or whatever it was. I think I ate a quarter to a third of it.
I got some chocolate chip pancakes. I definitely am lucky if I ate a third.
And then our dad got something else. But like, it was good. I'm just like, you
so
give me a
wasteful.
whole loaf of bread, fry it up, and put maple syrup and fruit on it, and I'm supposed to eat all of it? It's not happening.
And like my volume of pancakes that I have, it's like a miniature cake at this point. I'm not eating all of that.
So, and like we didn't get a box or anything to take it to go because we're out and about. So
then we went to Central Park, walked around. It's huge.
Yeah.
Did not cover the whole thing, even remotely. We saw
I didn't
the
realize
lakes.
that there were like other like buildings and streets within it.
Yeah. We went across like Bow Bridge. We saw the lakes. We did see the Central Park Lake and tiny rowboats, which like the whole time I was walking across the lake and around there, I just kept having the bolter stuck on my head and repeat. And then we saw like the main fountain, but they were kind of setting up an event, so like there was stuff going on around it. And then we went to maybe we should have looked some stuff up first.
So we went to the Museum of Natural History.
American Museum of Natural History.
Big Night at Museum fan, both of us. And I was like, well, I would like to see it. And I would like to walk in and see Roxy right in front and like the big entrance, and here's the information table. I was like, I want to see that. That is not what the inside looks like, if you're curious.
Come to find out, they used the outside for filming, and then they made their own little...
I didn't think that they filmed in there. I just thought maybe their
inspiration
set design was a little bit more on the nose than it was. And it really was not at all.
No.
I do think like the T-Rex replica or whatever, I think it was on like the 4th floor that we didn't go to.
Oh. It was just like, here's the thing. We paid $26 per person to be in there, and we were in there for 45 minutes. It just wasn't... Like, it wasn't interesting enough to, like, justify, like, the last few little minutes we had to spend in New York. I think we were all kind of like, we'd rather be back outside by Central Park than walking around aimlessly in here. The AC was nice. I will admit that. But we're kind of like, let's go.
Yeah. And this is no dig on the, Museum of Natural History. I should have known what I was getting myself into. I really, truly, I just wanted to see, like, oh, Night at Museum. And I didn't.
Like, we could have just walked into the entrance, and in theory, if we saw that, we could have headed right back out.
Yeah.
But we didn't see that.
They have this weird, like, ticket thing, too, where it's like, you've got to have a ticket to get in.
And, oh, my God, exiting the building.
That was the last 20 minutes of what we were trying to do.
Trying to find the bathrooms. I had to go down, like, 4 flights, and it was so hard to find them. Anyways, then we went briefly back to Central Park because Ciera wanted to try taking a photo of like an inspiration pic she saw.
Y'all may never see the light of day of that one. Didn't really turn out.
And then we decided to subway back to our hotel, and
that was it.
That was kind of it. I will say, so my email for our hotel very clearly said checkout 2 p.m. And I checked the night before so that I knew when we were checking out, and it said very clearly 2 p.m. So then when we got back to our hotel around 12:30, we obviously had a little bit of time to kill. Our hotel had a terrace, and so Ciera and I were kind of like, let's go up there and just like hang out a little bit. We'll kind of like look through some of the pictures that we had taken and kind of like craft some Instagram posts. And then we're up there for like maybe 10 minutes, maybe not even. And our dad calls us saying like, hey, the front desk called and said like we're supposed to check out at noon. So like if you guys could get back down here.
We gotta go.
Pack out. We gotta go. And like I reiterated to my dad, I was like, "Well, I promise it said 2 p.m. I'm not a confrontational person, and like no harm, no foul. Like our dad was saying like, they weren't worried about it.
We weren't doing anything else.
Yeah, I was kind of like, okay, we can go. I don't really care. So we packed up. We were out of there by 1 at least, and then you guys could also maybe comment on this because our dad thought I was like crazy. I used my credit card points for the hotel, so like it was under my name and whatnot. And I'm always of the mindset of like,
Why check out?
why check out of a hotel? They don't need anything from me. I paid already, first thing, and
And I'm out.
they don't really need the keys back, or you could leave them in the room. Like, nothing that I do here is of use to me or you. And I've never checked out of a hotel. I always just walk
And it's
out.
not like you get an email
and I
being
have
like,
never
you didn't check out.
I've never gotten anything or repercussions by not doing that. So I just continue to do that. And our dad was like, what? But we
Like,
walked.
genuinely, what do they do? Say, okay, we knew you were checking out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't even know if I've ever
Like, I
checked
feel like
out.
it's an outdated practice that, like, obviously you used to have to check out, and you just don't have to anymore.
So that was our trip. Smooth travels back.
Vlog coming up this weekend, and you can hear about everything else that we
And see it in person.
encountered. I do think, I did the rough cut. The clips look great. Our new lens, the wide lens, really sells the environment, the grandness of
Good.
it. Hopefully I'm not overhyping it, but I think it's a good vlog.
Anyways, we really like doing our weekend trips when we can. I know a lot of people, like, maybe weekend trips not for everyone, but I like the quick there and back. All of us were kind of agreeing too. New York is a place where I feel like if you're wanting to just like go and kind of slam it hard, you can do all the big things you want to do in a short period of time. I definitely don't think I needed another day to like make the trip worth it. I certainly wouldn't want to be there a week. Like, I just feel like I would so quickly run out of things to do unless you're like going and like visiting or staying with a friend and kind of like hanging out with them and getting like the lay of the land. Our 3 days was plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like the right amount. I wouldn't say like not enough. It was what we needed.
So there's our trip recap. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at according to. You can also follow our personal Instagrams and let us know your thoughts on this episode. You can always DM us and give us some future episode recommendations as well.
We will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.